My name is Dr. Jill Urich, and I'm the Chief Academic Officer in Ankeny Community Schools. And we are located in the Des Moines metro area, and our district has just over 10,000 students.
Okay, excellent. And so, in what way has your district incorporated standards-based education?
Our district has been focusing on standards-based practices in a variety of ways. One would be starting with our teachers. We have transformed our teacher evaluation system where it's now a professional growth model. And so we are living out standards-based practices as adult learners in the organization. We are focusing on Charlotte Danielson's framework for teaching, where there are standards with accompanying rubrics, and teachers are given the autonomy to differentiate their individual goals. And that professional learning can range from individual coaching all the way to structured professional development. When we play out that standards-based work as adult learners, we also then want to see that happening in the classroom as well. So that's where we've prioritized professional learning communities, really giving teachers that structured process and supporting them, providing them with the resources to live out that PLC process where they come together on determining what is it that students are going to know, understand, and be able to do, design assessments, and that ongoing assessment process where they're able to measure student learning, responding to that with differentiated instruction. And then finally, that leads us to the grading piece. How do we communicate learning? So we have found that those standards-based practices are truly a cycle of quality teaching and learning.
In your opinion, how has this benefited student achievement?
Standards-based practices have benefited student achievement because it gives teachers and students clarity around what it is students are learning. If the PLC process is working, teachers are able to design quality assessments, and if students are achieving what they need to be achieving and learning what they need to be learning, that will show in those assessments. If teachers get the data they need on a day-to-day basis through that formative assessment process and they are responding appropriately, then students are getting what they need. I would say in addition to that, when we think of our formal reporting periods where our letter grades truly represent what students know and are able to do in the classroom, if students are earning those higher grades, then we know that those practices are working in the classroom.
One of the documents that's part of our module comes from the Colorado Coalition for Standards-Based Education. And so I'm going to ask you a couple questions about that document. The document I'm referring to describes a lot of conditions that are necessary for either a school or district to implement standards-based education. So what do you feel the most important conditions in your district have been that have successfully helped you implement standards-based education?
Well, it's interesting. I looked at this list, and there isn't one thing that I would say is less important than the other. This work is not linear, so it's not like a checklist where you say, let's do this first, cross it off, go to the next item on the list. All of these things need to be happening at the same time. So when I look at those 11 conditions, they're all important. So for example, when we think of as a leadership team and we think of a strategic plan, we have to have an agreed upon vision in mind and what we believe. And what we believe is in a growth mindset for all. We believe that everyone will learn at a high level, whether we're talking about adult learners or student learners. That, of course, aligns with professional development. What professional learning opportunities are we going to offer people? That aligns with policy. What policies do we have in place to ensure equity among students and challenging opportunities for all students? How does that relate to hiring? If we believe in a growth mindset for all, then we want to hire people into the organization that believe that. that people that believe in that formative assessment process, that okay, I have a standard and it's my responsibility to ensure the student learns that, and I'm going to own that through that formative assessment process.
You kind of answered this, but is there one condition that you guys are currently trying to improve in your district out of that list?
I would say, again, all of them are, it's an ongoing quest with all of them. There's never one that you would say, wow, we've arrived.
Right.
You know, it's that continuous improvement process. I will say instructionally, as we think about all the supports that we want to give teachers, it's through the instructional process and that formative assessment process. So of all the things we're always working on, one of the learning points that's always on our front burner is the formative assessment process and how that relates to differentiation in the classroom.
You've given a lot of wonderful advice for educators thinking about a standards-based system. Is there anything else that you would like to add for either administrators thinking about doing this or administrators that are digging into it, that just, you know, are running into a few challenges?
Sure. One of the things, as I was thinking about this question, was that whole concept of tight loose. And in a PLC culture, it's important to take the time to determine what are we tight on? What is everyone going to agree to live out on a day-to-day basis? And then when we think of the term loose, what is that defined autonomy that allows people to utilize their own expertise? And that's really important when you think of a standards-based system. You have to determine what is tight, what is loose. So as an example, you know, we had to spend a lot of time when we think about grading practices, what is tight and what is loose. So a tight for our system would be, we are not going to give extra credit opportunities, because we believe if we've assigned something to students to learn and it's directly tied to a standard, then students need to be held accountable to learn that, versus giving them the opt-out of that to then earn extra credit points that are not connected to the standards. Another thing I would say is just honoring where people are in the process. One of the phrases that we use a lot is, it's okay to be where you are, it's just not okay to stay there. So you want to honor where everyone is and know that everyone's moving in the right direction, and that we're putting supports in place and removing barriers for people to continue moving, and having that. You know, I mentioned our professional growth model earlier that's based on Charlotte Danielson's framework for teaching, that using that to help us differentiate support for our teachers and help guide professional development makes a big difference. Another phrase that we use often around our district is, work slowly now to work fast later. So taking the time to bring stakeholders on board, and knowing that you know, once you have that strategic plan and you have your vision and your mission in place, and you've really determined what that desired state is, there is going to be pushback. And it's important that we listen to all stakeholders, and we learn from all stakeholders, and we honor all stakeholders, and we still need to lead the organization in the direction that is best for our students. And knowing and honoring what your community needs and can handle, because that will look different from district to district to district. So when you think about a standards-based system, it's going to look different in every district. For example, some districts will be ready and say, we are going to eliminate letter grades and we're going to report just on standards. We would have some districts that will say, we are not ready for these conversations. We are just going to give letter grades, and we're going to give teachers full autonomy on what that looks like. And then you've got the in-between. Our district has made the determination that right now our community honors letter grades, and that's important to our community. So we've our desired state really includes 3 prongs of reporting, if you will. So as we focus on teaching and learning, once we get to that reporting piece, we still have letter grades. In addition to that, as some supplemental clarity and reporting, we are working on rubrics through the curriculum review process, where teachers will be able to report out utilizing summary rubrics that provides a snapshot of their class, or of how students are, how a student is performing in that class. And then thirdly, we know that behavior is important and we need to give students feedback on behavior. So we're also working on behavior rubrics and how we can report that out to students and parents as well. So again, that's what's important for our system. So I would say you can't just pick up a book about standards-based grading and say, we are going to do this. It's important to take what research says, take what's important and what's needed for student learning to improve, and then use the stakeholders in your community to help determine what that can look like for your district.
Oh, Jill, you gave a lot of awesome advice. Thank you.